watching the It's Her Time podcast with Cody and Jess. Welcome back to the It's Her Time podcast. My name is Cody Sanders, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and functional nutritionist and the host of this show. And I'm so happy to have you here. Now, today's episode, we are going to be talking about birth control. I feel like there's never enough conversation about birth control, and we really need more education when it comes to it. But specifically, today we're going to be talking about whether birth control is bad for our gut. So I can't wait to dive into all of this because I think it's something that is going to be helpful for every one of us, whether we are on birth control or not. But before we do, let's go over to a Mixhers Girl. Say, all right, let's do this Mixhers Girl segment. And I have Bethany with us today. Say hi, Bethany.
Hello.
Tell everybody what you do here at Mixhers.
I run all of the public relations here. So just a little bit of a lot of things, but
A lot of things.
It is very fun and I get to help with the podcast.
I love it. I love having Bethany. She's my right-hand girl. Is that how we say it? Is that the saying? That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
she's just right here next to me all the time, helping me out with all of the organization that comes with this podcast. Absolutely love her. And you've seen her on here before, so she probably looks familiar. And it's so fun. I love always having you here with us.
It's great.
So Mixhers Girl Say today, we are going to be answering, or actually not answering. We're going to share some of your answers of some of the things that you responded with on our Tell Us Tuesday. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, every Tuesday over on Instagram at Mixhers, we do a little question box in our stories. And it's so fun because you girls are very generous in sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your funny stories, all of the things. And so we appreciate it. And that's what we usually use here in this segment because it's so fun to hear what each of you have to say. So today's question box, what was the question?
It was share advice you'd give to your younger self to navigate the journey of womanhood.
Ooh, that was a big, deep question.
Yeah.
So that one's good. I'm excited to see what some of the responses are.
I was surprised, honestly. I didn't expect some of the responses we got, but they were really meaningful, but also practical, which I thought was really cool.
Our audience is pretty awesome. I'm telling you, you girls always do have the best things to say.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's read some of your faves.
Let's see. This gal said, learn more earlier about fertility. Another person said, learn about your cycles and when they happen. And if you skip the pill, just do non-hormonal IUD. She was just kind of talking about birth control and stuff.
I love that. And just, hey, can I just say thank you for that? Yeah. Because I think that's such great advice. I know that a lot of these girls that are just starting their periods, you know, it can feel overwhelming just to even just deal with like the basics of a period. But if we can educate our girls even younger about how to really understand what's going on with their bodies all month long, like that's so empowering. They're going to really be able to take control of that part of their life and really enjoy the experience of being a woman and going into that phase of life. And the other thing, I loved that suggestion about learning more about fertility and all of the different ways that you can either enhance your fertility or also like what options are out there for birth control and things like that. So yeah. Props to all of you.
Very specific.
Yeah.
But I like this one. She just said, start using her time sooner. And I think that just keeps it simple.
Yeah.
A great way to, like the other two said, just learn about your cycles and your body. There were some other really, really beautiful ones though. This gal said, I promise whatever you're going through, someone else has also gone through.
True.
That's what the community is all about.
Yeah,
you know?
I know. That's why we love to share, in this segment, because it's a place where we can hear from each other and go, yeah, me too. I think that too. And it's just a place that we can relate. And I think as women, it's really fun for us and also just important for us to make it a priority to communicate and have this connection with one another. And that's what we try to do here on this podcast and obviously in our Mixhers Girl community. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to our Mixhers Girl community, we actually have a private platform where you can go onto our website, mixhers.com, and you can go onto the little link that says community and you can join there. And it's free. And it's just a great place for us to connect, talk about what we're talking about here on the podcast, or to ask any questions questions that you have about Mixhers products or maybe about your health. There's an Ask Cody section, but there's also
that one.
that you get a lot of, the answers to the Ask Cody. A lot of the episodes that I do come from the questions that you girls send in. But it's also, I love it because we've got these little mini kind of groups, little communities within the Mixhers Girl community where you can relate to, women. Maybe if you've just had a baby, there's a bunch of new moms. If you're maybe going through menopause, there's some women who are going through that phase, things like that, so that you can kind of find your little best friend group. And it's just a really safe place to be and a place where, there's no dumb answers and there's never such thing as TMI. So we hope you guys can join us over there.
Never such a thing.
No.
Yeah. One more was just be you.
Oh,
and so you can just be you in the Mixhers community and hopefully everywhere.
That's so true. All right. Well, thank you. Let's get into the episode.
Mixhers is a company made for women by women. Each of our products have been carefully and lovingly crafted to support you in all stages of your life, providing you with the optimal health you deserve. Each ingredient we handpick is 100% all natural, backed by science, and chosen specifically to better your life physically, mentally, and hormonally. Each product empowers your body to take charge of its monthly hormonal shift and flows, empowering you to live life to the fullest. Let Mixhers take care of your needs from sunup to sundown, and you take care of the rest. Check us out at mixhers.com, Mixhers.
Okay. I want to start today's episode by sharing a former client's statement in her How Can I Help section of my intake form back when I was in private practice. She said, "My doctor has treated me for SIBO, candida, and gut symptoms, but every test shows I still have these infections. I feel like I can't eat anything because everything makes me sick. I'm at my wit's end and wondering, is birth control bad for your gut?" Now, her story is sadly common among women on birth control: persistent gut infection, increasing food sensitivities, and symptoms that make it embarrassing to leave the house some days. She had things like gas and she had bloating with just about every single meal that she ate every day. She said that she felt like she was either she can't go to the bathroom or she was always in the bathroom. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is going on here. So birth control, first of all, it's good to know, can lead to what's known as leaky gut, yeast overgrowth, which is also known as candida, decreased microbial diversity, and altered gut motility, which can lead to what's known as SIBO. Now, as a functional nutritionist who supports women in reversing birth control related side effects and eliminating post-birth control syndrome, poor gut health is something that I worked a lot on. So I put these women on a whole gut protocol because if you don't clear yeast, SIBO, get your microbiome in check and fix that leaky gut, then you will never actually heal your hormones. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Leaky gut, good gut bug chaos, and autoimmune disease are all on the table when we start birth control. I'm not shaming you if you've been using birth control. Rather, I just want you to know the risks if you do decide hormonal birth control is what's best for you. What I really wished was that my clients had the info they needed before they started birth control and then ended up in my office with SIBO and yeast infections, gut dysbiosis, heartburn, or having to get a new diagnosis of autoimmune disease. But look, I've been there. You may have been there too, or someone you love has been there. Using hormonal birth control without a clue that it could cause gut issues is something that is so common because oftentimes doctors don't share this information with us. And maybe you're listening to this now and you are on birth control and you're thinking, OMG, what do I do now? So that's where we're going to start. So wherever you are in your journey, I just want you to know I got you. If you've ever taken birth control, then there is a serious need to love your gut. And if you are on it now, I want you to just keep on listening. So let's talk about birth control pills and leaky gut. All right. Going back to my former client, Laura, I explained to her that hormonal birth control can cause intense intestinal hyperpermeability. So yeah, birth control is bad for your gut. That's the simple answer to that. This is what is commonly referred to as leaky gut. And when your gut begins leaking, large undigested proteins can then make their way through your intestinal lining, and your immune system pretty much hates this. It sees these proteins as foreign invaders, which they basically are, because proteins that size should never get through the gut lining and then into the bloodstream in the first place. This is why women taking the pill who have been dealing with a long list of food sensitivities can find the list of foods that cause them issues dwindling as they start to work on healing their gut. So leaky gut is also pretty much a basic requirement for the development of autoimmune disease, which is why researchers hypothesize women are at higher risk of Crohn's disease, for instance, when taking the pill. Now, on top of food sensitivities, hormonal birth control causes an imbalance in your gut bugs, which leads to yeast overgrowth. So yeah, that yeast infection and pill connection is absolutely real. Birth control and yeast infections go hand in hand. On top of having candida in her gut, my client, Laura, she just couldn't clear. She could never get rid of it. She was also having chronic vaginal yeast infections. And this isn't uncommon at all either. In fact, research has shown increases in vaginal, oral, and gut yeast infections among women who are on the pill. So if you're on the pill, your dentist is a non-negotiable part of your healthcare team because oral infections are a real part of all of this too. All right, so let's talk about birth control and our digestive issues. Now, birth control impacts our gallbladder function, which can cause issues with digestion and in motility. Plus, bile acid is toxic to the SIBO critters. So without it, that business only just gets worse. Now, we got Laura, my client, going with what is now known as her digest at every meal. And within a couple of days, all that gas and bloating was gone. And she had an uptick in her energy, which is what can happen when you start absorbing your food. That's right. You can eat all the right things, but not absorb the nutrients, which is such a big problem. So in order to reduce the assault on her gut and start to support repair, what we had Laura do is I had her use her digest for 4 months, and I had her doing it twice per day to bring her digestive tract back into balance. All right, so now let's talk about repairing leaky gut, because this is an important thing. Her digest contains nutrients like L-glutamine and zinc and quercetin and herbs like licorice root, marshmallow root, and aloe, which all can help with supporting the integrity of the gut. I also got Laura drinking a cup of bone broth every single day. Now, bone broth is so rich in amino acids, which your body uses to rebuild and also to repair tissues. As much as she wanted to make it on her own, she just didn't feel like she could fit it into her busy schedule. So I recommended that she try a brand called Kettle and Fire bone broth as an alternative. I love the homemade stuff. I think that's so great, but it does take a lot of time and is time consuming. So this is an easy way if you girls are like, yep, this sounds like me. I want to start drinking bone broth. Go and try Kettle and Fire. I'm not getting paid for any of this. It's just my favorite. And there's other good ones out there too. Now, one, it is super tasty for sure. And if it is tasty, the good thing about that is that you are more likely to drink it. And two, it is high quality, it's clean, and it ships right to your house. So it's really, really easy. It's a big win-win-win. I just want to make health easy for you girls so you can stay consistent. Okay, let's talk about taking probiotics with birth control. Now, is it important? And the short answer is yes. And you absolutely, if you are in birth control, you should be taking a probiotic every single day. Because if we know that hormonal birth control messes with those good gut bugs, then we best do everything we can to turn that ship around. In fact, the impact of birth control on your good gut bugs, also known as your microbiome, is so profound. Some studies have compared it to antibiotics. And let's just keep in mind that you don't take antibiotics for years on end, right? So to start crowding out that yeast and to then restore gut health while being mindful of SIBO, what I did next is I started Laura on a 12 billion CFUs of Bacillus coagulant, which is a strain of probiotic that is very beneficial, especially for women. She started at just one dosage every single day for 7 days, and then we increased it to one dose twice daily for several months until we saw her gut was showing signs of healing. Now, the reason that is because sometimes if you haven't been taking a probiotic and you start introducing it the first week, then you might feel like you're feeling some of those upset stomach feelings like bloating and gas and things like that. And that's just a sign that your body's a gut microbiome. The gut is just kind of repopulating. So it's common. So I started out slow and then I built as we started, continuing this healing process of her gut. So at the same time, I want to talk about how important it is to not only put a probiotic into our system, but it's so important to feed this good bug bacteria or good gut bacteria, which is also known as our microbiome. It needs good food in order to survive. Okay. So we slowly increased beneficial fibers. And then Laura started to add in foods that she had been kind of avoiding after 3 to 4 weeks of the protocol. So a variety in the diet really does help to create a variety in the microbiome that lives in your gut. Now, after about a month in, she was incorporating things like fermented foods, which are very rich in prebiotics. Now, prebiotics is the good food that feeds the bugs that you want to be hanging around in your gut. So with that, she was putting good bugs into her system, and then she was giving those good bugs the food that helps them to thrive. Within months, Laura had the most variety in her diet that she had ever had in years. So let's talk now about how birth control can cause gas and bloating and IBS and some of those really uncomfortable symptoms that so many of us kind of deal with on a daily basis. Maybe we're not really putting 2 and 2 together about why. Okay, so the gas, bloating, and constipation with alternating diarrhea is often diagnosed as a condition called IBS. Clinically, I found that some women do in fact develop IBS after they started birth control. So part of healing is to come off the pill, okay? But for Laura, this wasn't really possible yet. So we just supported her digestive health and brought on some antimicrobial herbs to reduce the candida and the SIBO organisms. Now, the organisms associated with SIBO aren't necessarily bad, and yeast is always present. But when there is an imbalance, then these guys can get big. They can cause really big trouble in your gut. So for Laura, when she came off of birth control, we just repeated this protocol again. And for the first time in years, she had a clear stool culture 6 months after discontinuing the pill. But more importantly, she was finally free of her gut issues and was eating like a normal person, in her words. So if you're struggling with your gut or you're using hormonal birth control, then I definitely want you to check out Her Digest, as well as look into Her Time Extra Strength Daily. I recommend these for women on birth control or if they're transitioning off or those that are not sure if they have SIBO or not. Now, Her Digest survives the stomach acid and doesn't aggravate SIBO like other probiotics can. And what it can do is that it actually reestablishes that healthy gut flora. Plus, it supports antioxidant health, which is depleted whenever we are using birth control. So again, huge win. There's a lot going on with there. It's definitely something you want to have in your daily, arsenal. Now, for Laura, a 3-month protocol was in order before she stopped the pill. She then supported her gut for another 3 months and found her symptoms were finally gone. And this can be your story too. And this is why I want to share this with you, because I feel like so many of you are relating to this and have these same situations, and you're doing everything that you possibly can, to overcome some of these symptoms. You're going to all the right people, asking the right questions. And for some reason, this is something that is commonly missed. Many times people are not putting the 2 and 2 together and understanding that even if you are eating all the greatest foods and you are supplementing with all of the greatest supplements, it's sometimes has to do with the birth control that you are taking on a daily basis. Now, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not anti-birth control. It is very, very helpful in preventing pregnancy. But I do encourage you girls, if you are trying to prevent pregnancy, I would encourage you to go and learn more about fertility awareness. All right. There's so much that you can understand that is going to help you to prevent getting pregnant that's not going to mess with your gut and your overall health. There's a lot of things that come with the birth control, a lot of side effects that happen in the moment, but a lot of long-term side effects that often aren't shared when you are first given that prescription. So I really encourage you to just just educate yourself on this. The basics of it is that there's really only one day of the month that we can get pregnant. There are 5 days of the month around that one day of fertility where our cervical mucus is a little thicker. And so it can keep sperm alive. So the chances of getting pregnant are still present at that time. And so it's important to know that during that time, you can do some things. You can take some steps to, kind of avoid the possibility of becoming pregnant, whether that's through condoms or from abstinence or some other form of birth control that's not going to mess with your hormones. I don't see why it would be something we would want to do, to take something every single day of the month to help prevent pregnancy that can really only happen on one day of the month. So that's just my take on it. I just tell you this so that you can have the information and make the best, decision for yourself. Informed. That's what this is all about. So I hope you found this helpful. Maybe this episode hit home for you, or maybe there's another girl in your life that could benefit from learning more about how birth control can affect your gut. So if there is a likelihood of that, will you please share this episode with her? We always appreciate your support in helping to share this information to all the girls in your life. This stuff isn't being talked about enough, and too many women are suffering unnecessarily. So knowledge is power and should be easily accessible for all. That is the heart behind this podcast and the heart behind Mixhers. We want all women to feel empowered with their health so that they can feel their best every single day, no matter what day of the month it is or what stage of life they're in. We absolutely love you all. So thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to meeting back here again. Until next time, have a very happy and healthy week.